This is the hermitcraft fan art I drew 4 years ago that helped me get into art school. Today, we're going to be redrawing that art to see just how far 4 years of practice can really get you. But before that, let me tell you about my storytelling goals for these characters. First of all, each of them has a real pirate role in the crew. This introduced the extra challenge of designing their outfits based on the jobs that they would be performing every day as a pirate crew. My second goal was to make sure I stay true to the Hermit's personalities and bits during Season 8. And last but not least, I wanted each of them to feel unique while still making it obvious that they come from the same time period and are part of the same world. And a quick side note, I actually don't have a name yet for this pirate crew, so if you have any ideas, drop them down in the comments. So without further ado, let's hop on to the sketch and design process, and make sure to stick around to the end to see how the final designs compare. So yeah, we got this line here showing the twist, and then the greater, like, overarching, what's it called? The arch line? No. Why is, all my education is failing me right now. The line of action! Oh my god. Were spyglasses in the game at this point? When did those come out? Am I old? Yeah, they were out by then. But then I also don't want to put the spyglass, like, up to her face, like, this, you know? Because at that point, you're just kind of obstructing her face, and I want to actually do the face and expressions and all that cool stuff. And then I'm just gonna lower the opacity and run over it with some more shapes and stuff. I'm trying to figure out how this would, like, twist here. I know there's, like, a pinch here, and then a stretch on this side. Okay, so I kind of just want to adjust this leg here and put it a little bit more in perspective, actually. Yeah, because one of the main things that makes a leg look in perspective is that calf and the shin, like how those kind of connect with the leg. So what you can do is that little bulge there, like this one, it kind of like pushes out when it's pressed up against the leg. And then on the shin, it kind of does the same thing, but it's not as pronounced because the shin's like straight bone comes down the leg like that. And then just a little curve on the other side to show a bit of, like, fat and skin on top. Yeah, that looks better. The other one was looking a little bit flat. Okay, outfit time! Yay, this is my favorite part. I love the outfits. I'm really bad at drawing outfits, but that's fine. I will figure it out. And Pearl will get a snazzy little outfit that fits the whole, like, pirate theme. Let's see, which references do I want to use specifically for Pearl? So my first major choice with Pearl is giving her a bandana because, you know, she's a navigator and she's up on those sails all day. She doesn't want the hair flowing around in her face all the time. It's gonna be windy up there. But honestly, with Pearl, I think she's kind of the most, like, generic pirate out of them all. Like, she has the classic vest and tunic with lots of belts and stuff, and then a bit of jewelry because I think she was actually pretty wealthy in Season 8. But the reason that she's mostly, like, plain otherwise is because I wanted to focus mainly on my favorite part of her design, which is the like sun and moon red-blue fabrics around her waist. They kind of remind me a bit of the Legend of Korra, where it's like kind of a skirt, kind of not, because I still wanted her to be able to fight, but I also wanted to give her something like fashionable, and the whole astrological theme, it fits both into like her persona and her role as the crew's navigator, so I thought it was just perfect. I loved it so much. And yes, I did rip it off Pinterest. I like this. I think that this arm needs a little bit more like fabric falling. Have like a boop bop, boop bop. And then just make a little place for her to stand on. I really like how this turned out, actually. I usually sketch in a bit more of a cartoony style, but I've been wanting to push myself and draw like more realistically because I just love that kind of style. It's so cool. So I was kind of scared that this would take me like a really long time during the video and I would have to redo it a bunch, but I think that like I used real life reference, and I also looked at Goop Scully for reference because I know he's like just extremely talented at drawing fabric and like rendering it, and thankfully it worked out for this one. Alright, editing Connor, rock up with the references that we're going to be using for Impulse. I kind of like what I did in the first one with this whole, like, gripping these guys. But I don't know, he's not just a steampunk guy. So I didn't actually watch Impulse back in Season 8. I only discovered him, I think in Season 10 when he started doing the Steampunk City. Not the Steampunk, Cyberpunk City. So I went back to look at his skin for reference, and he is absolutely glammed up. Like, he's not this, like, redstone, steampunk kind of guy that I thought he was. Like, obviously, that's how so much of the fandom designs him. I was just kind of, like, looking at random fan art on, you know, the internet. And I didn't make him pirate-themed at all. But now, okay, I've thought, okay, he's got redstone skills. Sure, he's very, like, wealthy and stuff, so I'll kind of stick to those vibes. He's going to be, like, the mechanics and repair, like, ship repair tech guy. And just for a little extra on his design, like, obviously we're going to keep the iconic eye design on the front of the shirt. And then I'm not sure for the color, like, if I want to go yellow or red or whatever for that big overcoat. We'll figure that out in later designs, but I still wanted to keep him quite, like, redstone-y. So he's got a big redstone sack on his back, like he's frickin' redstone Santa Claus or whatever. And then I kept the goggle design because I just thought, oh, you know, it's really cool. I'm wondering if we should do Impulse with, like, pinstripes, or maybe just, like, the eye design. Big button here with the Impulse eye, you know, like that. And then maybe we do pinstripes beyond that? I think that could look kind of cool, actually. Yeah, then he gets the steampunky vibes, and he also gets, I like this. I think he's gonna have kind of a top hat, too. And actually, no, well, I don't want him to be steampunk businessman, because at a certain point, it's not exactly pirate-themed if he's just a steampunk guy. I think in the original, I only actually drew Pearl and Grian as pirates, Mumbo is a boat boy, and then Scar and Impulse are just themselves. They're not even pirates. Now that we got kind of the base grunge look, let us clean this up a little bit. Alright, let me break out the jelly packet. These pants are going to be the absolute death of me because I actually don't know how to draw them. I really should have thought of that before I decided, you know, I would give them the Impulse. But, you know what? Ah, well. Ah, well. I'm honestly really happy with how the Impulse design came out. I know it's a little bit more like steampunk than pirate, but you know, I still think the design is like really cool, so I'm willing to let things slide. And with that out of the way, let's get to the next hermit, everyone's favorite CEO. Again, I'm not sure if I should make Mumbo, like, the fanciest lad in the world, or if I should just make him kind of like scruffy Victorian child. You know, it really could go either way. Ooh, I also could go rock band pirate. Yeah, I might go rock band pirate. Okay. So yeah, I kind of mixed that with a Victorian, small, sick Victorian child, because I did want him to be aggressively British, almost like Steed Bonnet from Our Flag Means Death, and I mixed in the rock band pirate because I wanted to get that, like, super disheveled look. Part of Mumbo's bit in Season 8 is that he's a bit of an incompetent CEO, you know? He kind of just got dropped into the role because he wasn't there, and I really wanted to capture that. And put him into that same situation as a pirate captain. Like, he has no idea how he ended up here. The other ones, like, they were on their pirate mission, whatnot. They kind of know what they're doing. They needed a pirate captain, and one of them was like, you know, I got a buddy. Or they just picked a random guy off the street, and, like, that was Mumbo Jumbo. They picked Mumbo Jumbo, random Victorian child, off the street, and that became their pirate captain. And that was kind of what I hoped to capture with this design. You know, he's a little scruffy, and he's very nervous because he doesn't know what he's doing. It was really fun to design him this way. Alright, And I think that is the finished sketch for Mumbo Jumbo. Maybe I make his things a little bit more, like, raggedy, because, yeah, he wasn't exactly the richest hermit in Season 8. I think that's good. Yeah, I like this. I think that's great. As we get into a little time lapse for the line art here, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a question. How did you get here? How'd you get into this whole thing? I personally started watching Hermitcraft at the height of Season 7, and like a lot of people, I migrated over from the Dream SMP fandom. There, I had inspirations like Sadist and Wolfie the Witch for my art, but once Dream SMP died off and frankly became way too messy to sink my time into, I started looking elsewhere. Enter Hermitcraft. In 2021, I was working on my art school portfolio, and Boatem was the big thing at the time, and pirates were always an aesthetic, so I snuck a little bit of fan art into my portfolio, even though technically I wasn't supposed to. 2024 and 2025 were like really busy years where I was moving a lot and working through school, so I stopped watching as much to focus on my real life, but it was still what I would put on in the background on late nights finishing projects, both to keep myself entertained and get inspired by the hermit's art processes. And I guess that brings me to now, a completely different person living in the same place I did when I first made my Hermitcraft fan art. My life circumstances changed a lot from year to year, but my enjoyment of watching such creative people use Minecraft as a tool for art has stayed pretty consistent. And, my life has changed pretty drastically again, and here I am. So my question to you, if you enjoy Hermitcraft or are part of the community, then drop a comment on how you got into it, what you like about it, any thoughts you got on it. I think it would be pretty cool if I could use Hermitcraft to meet like other like-minded people who enjoy the same stuff. So with that little question out of the way, let's finish up this line art and get through some coloring. Sorry. Thought I'd just pop in and record here quickly. I'm having a lot of trouble figuring out if I should do Mumbo in his Peace, Love, and Plants color scheme, or a kind of version of his businessman color scheme. So, like, I can totally go for this, although it's looking a little bit plain compared to all the other characters. Impulse has his cool magenta and yellow bit going on, and then Pearl has the blue, and, like, it looks so cool. And I feel like Mumbo, with the businessman outfit, looks maybe a little bit too plain. The issue with the Peace, Love, and Plants is that it feels maybe a little disjointed. Here, I have the green. I chose, okay, the pants are brown, the hat is brown, that kind of matches up. The belt here is brown because it gives nice... the boots are like this gray color. I thought that fit nicely, but it was really hard choosing a color for this like middle belt section here, so I was just like, oh, why not just make it the same color as the boots, maybe put something in there. But now it feels like uneven. The colors feel uneven almost. But if I did the hat, then the brown on the pants, I guess would make less sense. And I can't make this middle bit brown because then it meshes too well with the pants. Or maybe I could, actually. Let's try that. See, I think that's almost too much brown. Yeah, and then it's the same color as this, and that's kind of boring. Yeah, but I don't want his hat to be gray. But what could be another addition to this color palette here? Because, yeah, this teal also isn't really making sense. I kind of just threw that in there because I was like, I need a color that works. Maybe, like, this kind of grayish green color would work a little better. See, that also feels really out of place. Although if I do it like that, where it's kind of the undershirt, it feels kind of... Yeah, wait, actually, you know what? That feels pretty decent. Maybe if I make it a little bit lighter, I don't know why it feels so blue. Like, it's basically yellow. Maybe because it's because it's surrounded by green colors, so it looks more green. We love color theory like that, but let's see, does this work, making it a little bit more yellowy gray? Trust me, guys, I know it looks green. It's gray, I promise. Or, well, yellow. Maybe I could even make these wrappings white? Would that work? No, I feel like that makes it a little too separate. Yeah, no, that's just clashes. I feel like, yeah, as an accent color to the green, it works quite well. And then here's, again, the businessman kind of color scheme. Tell me in the comments which you like better. Businessman or peace, love, and plants? Okay, if there's one thing that I've learned from shading these guys, it's that shading digitally is so much different than shading with graphite or, like, pencil on paper. I didn't have life drawing classes this past year, so it has been a while since I've done actual fabric shading. But still, I tried to use some of the techniques that I learned from using pastels. For example, one of the first things that we learned was core shadows. You can kind of see me trying it out in a few places with Pearl, where I put darker shadows like as a line in between the shadow and the light, which on one hand, it helps with blocking out the shapes of the shadow and just generally getting a layout for where they're supposed to sit, while also showing the depth of a shadow. The core shadow part is the darkest because the other side of the main shadow, I guess on the underside of a ball, for example, would be light bouncing off from objects around it. So yeah, generally that's how I learned how to shade things. And with fabric, it's a lot harder because there's bounce light everywhere. And half the time there's light like shining through the fabric, which I'll try it in the future. I tried it with this one for Mumbo. It looks fine, I guess. It's not like anything revolutionary. It kind of just looks like a highlight. But it is definitely something I want to try more in the future. For now though, I kept it pretty simple. I didn't want to do like every single tiny little wrinkle in their clothing, but I still got the larger shapes and, you know, how the fabric folds in on itself. I tried to do those cool crinkles at the elbows and the knees and, you know, all those things. So I tried a few different techniques. With Impulse, I blacked out the shadows in blue because I thought, you know, cooler tone shadows would work better with this color scheme. And then for Mumbo, I blocked out all the shadows in brown because I thought, oh, warm lights, warm shadow. I think that's how that works. So yeah, just trying different techniques to see what kind of shadow ended up looking the best. And that's not even to touch on like the blending of it. I used, I believe, like a textured blending brush. Forget the name, one sec. It's literally the one that comes default with Photoshop. It's Kyle's Paintbox Wet Blender. That's what I used to blend all the colors together. And I used a really small version of it. I tried to blend the shadows out nicely into little highlighted peaks and valleys while capturing all the like teeny tiny little details without getting too bogged down in like wrinkles and stuff. So if you're ever doing your own shading like this, like fabric shading, definitely start out with like traditional media because it does really help to get that foundation. But when you're moving on to the digital side of things and doing color and all that, really like play around, experiment with different ways of doing it. That really helped me in this process. And honestly, I absolutely encourage using YouTube to learn how to shade, you know, watching those kind of digital art advice tutorials. But at the end of the day, the best way to learn is to continuously just do it. You can't always study. You have to make things for yourself to actually apply those studies to, and stuff that you're passionate about making. So yeah, you want my best advice? Go out there, learn what you can, and then create. Whatever you can, whatever you want, it's genuinely the best way to learn. Just learn on the job. You're never gonna end up making anything if you always keep your best ideas in your head, waiting for the time that you are good enough to make those ideas. Just go and create them. Go and make them. And there we have it, folks. Half of the Boatem crew as pirates. Thank you so much for watching. Next week we'll be doing Grian and Scar. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It really helps the video's performance, so I would appreciate it a lot. Thank you so much for sticking around this far, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!